It wasn't easy, but I was quit my job and actually take 8 months and just grind it out. It was a hard 8 months. I was strapped for cash working at J&S Diner, trying to pay bills. I worked for a tiling company for a while, just on and off jobs, trying to just make sure that I was paying everything I needed to make the company survive. So you get the happy, the unhappy, the exhausted, the why isn't this taking off like I want it to? You get all those emotions. And guess what? All those means you're alive. But you were set in that comfortable 9 to 5 job forever and you just didn't feel anything. Everyone says success is this big money object, right? I think it's you're most successful when someone uses my product, someone's out
Mhm.
there really enjoying my product. I think ultimately it's up to you to decide what success is for what you build. Some people think we're this massive company and it's like, oh, we're just this small local delivery business that's trying to make moves and do big things. What I want to carry through this as a business, how can we help you and how can we work together? You got to think of business as an abundance and everyone lifts each other up.
Broc Crandall is the co founder and CEO of Stalked, a pre arrival delivery service saving vacationers time and money while connecting local businesses for a better check in experience. He founded the company with an old friend and roommate, Zach Hite, in 2020 after years of noticing the time suck in using precious hours of vacation time to go grocery shopping in new and unfamiliar places. Stock provides grocery deliveries to vacationers in northern Michigan, collaborating with property managers, Airbnb owners, and local grocery stores. Brock also runs a coffee shop with a friend in Elk Rapids, Michigan, called Happy Camper. This episode sheds light on a realistic founder story, including challenges, motivations, and iterations of a bootstrap business. We also discuss things he'd do differently as starting out today, time management as an entrepreneur, and contrast the entrepreneurial lifestyle to working a standard 9 to 5 job. Tune in to hear the tea. So I'm just going to jump right in
Yeah.
could you talk a little bit about what work experiences you had prior to starting Stocked so that listeners can get a bit of context into your background?
Yeah. So I worked for an automotive company as a project manager for ooh, probably 8 years. I actually worked there like my whole life. My dad started a manufacturing company and I kind of grew up on the shop floor. So I was sweeping the floor and taking out garbage. I was a laborer on the line, stapling parts, doing the hard labor stuff, and then made my way up, went to college, came back, became a project manager, program manager, and started managing programs between the big three. So Ford, GM, Chrysler. So I was in the automotive industry for a long time and I got to see that world, which is super interesting. And it was pretty fun at the time. It was my time to leave, and I didn't have any plans of taking over the business. So they actually sold their company 2019, and I started my company in 2020, 2021, 2020, launched in 2021. So we started building in 2020.
Okay, very cool to hear. How long had you been thinking about entrepreneurship, or like what were the kind of thoughts that led you up to deciding, oh, I want to start my own thing, and even that idea
Yeah.
in particular?
Well, I've always kind of been in that realm. When I was younger in high school, the summers, I had my own boat waxing company. It was just kind of like some side jobs here and there. I didn't have a ton of business, but I just hustled for money and I didn't work for someone else during those times. But I did work on the cherry farm and stuff like that. I've always wanted to start my own thing. Tried doing a auto detail company and that just really didn't work out. So then I went back to work for my dad after college and I took a trip out west. So this is like the whole birth of the company Stocked. And we went out on a ski trip and it was with a bunch of guys. And we got there to the Airbnb and we immediately had to go grocery shopping. So it was like a pain. We had the car full of ski stuff. We just got to the mountain. All we wanted to do was get on the mountain and ski, but we're there for 7 days. So we needed food and groceries. So it was kind of annoying to like, all right, everyone, let's hop back in the car and we got to figure out where we're going to the grocery store. And so it took us a whole day. And when you're going out west, you get that epic pass, right? You're like, I'm skiing every single second I can because I bought this $700 epic pass. I want to be on the mountain every minute. So it took a whole day for us to get to the grocery store. So that whole day's gone. We can't ski that day. Like we just we ran around at the grocery store and got all the groceries for the week. So that's kind of like where the idea started. I was like, man, this would be nice to be able to walk in, have the fridge full of everything we needed, everything we wanted for the week. And like when we got back from the mountain, we could have walked in and started making sandwiches and things like that for the next day and eat dinner and all that stuff. Obviously, you don't want to go out to dinner every night. It gets expensive. So did that again the next year. The same problems happened. And I was like, all right, I'm going to come back to Traverse City and I'm going to start a company that stocks Airbnbs for guests for anything they need around town. It saves them 3 or 4 hours of vacation time, which those are precious hours. Those are expensive hours on vacation.
Mm, yeah. That's a good point when you put it like that. And it's cool to hear about where that came from. That makes a lot of sense. I can like
Yeah.
feel that urgency. It's the last thing you want to do. Go grocery
Yeah.
shopping in a new place. You also have to figure out where you can go, if they're even open. It's
Right.
especially hard when it's a less populated area like a ski mountain.
Yep.
So totally get that.
Yep.
Okay. And so I know you have a co-founder.
Yep.
So I'm curious how that relationship came to be and yeah, how you
Yeah.
decided to work with them.
Yeah. So entering college, I was playing on the basketball team, and that's how we met. Zach Hite, my co-founder, that's how we met. And then we were actually roommates for a few years during college, and we just became really close during college. And after college, even we kept really close and in touch. And I just called him after I got back from my Colorado trip. I'm like, dude, what do you think about this idea? And he was like, dude, I got 2 kids. We hate doing the grocery shopping on vacation. That's the worst thing. Me and my wife rock, paper, and scissors for who's going to the store to get away from the kids, or, who's taking them or whatever. Or we have to all go, and it just is a really big hassle. So he's like, dude, I'm all in. What do we got to do? So we just got our heads together and we're like, well, let's just build something that we think people might use. And so we started building something, and then we built something to be able to show our customer, which is the property managers, be like, hey, we're building this platform for guests to order groceries from, before their arrival. So we can put it in the fridge on the counter. And in return, that provides a value add service to their guest experience. And they'll get more 5-star reviews because like, I showed up to this place and they had everything I needed there. They were able to provide me with a company that would have my groceries there before I even arrived. I walk in, I open the fridge, I crack my beverage and sit back and relax. I don't have to go to the store, unpack the groceries, unpack my luggage. There's a lot of things actually that happen right when you check in that does kind of a time suck. So having them not have to drive to the store, pick up their groceries, put them in the car, then take them out of the car, put them in the fridge. There's just a lot of time suck there. So we're saving that time for the guests and giving that back to the guest for their vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very cool. And you said you partnered with who? Someone who runs like
So we
vacation
partner with property managers,
property managers. Okay.
or just even if one-off Airbnb hosts, anyone that wants our service in their rental unit or home or whatever,
Yeah.
we're available. It's a free service to them, and the guest pays for the delivery fee and stuff like that. But we do all the work. All they have to do is let their guests know about us. So
Yeah. That seems like a good setup. So they will just refer their renters to you and be like, hey, this might enhance your experience. Check them out. It's an option for grocery delivery while you're here.
yeah, yep,
Okay. 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 So you meet your co founder from being roommates, and then you pitch the idea to him, and he also thinks it's great. And then you start working with property managers. Could you talk a little bit about the early days and what it was like starting something from literally nothing?
yeah. That is, yeah. So that was probably one of the craziest times in my life where it just was like so hyper focused on what I believed in, and I'm still super hyper focused on it. But I was like every day just wake up and start grinding on the computer, building the product, getting partnerships with property managers, meetings every day, trying to get our service into these units and providing the value for them and their guests. And it was just like, it was a lot. It was a lot to do. and we like felt like we had to really move. And it was luckily I was able to like quit my job. It wasn't easy, but I was quit my job and actually take 8 months and just grind it out. It was like a hard 8 months. I was like strapped for cash, working at J&S Diner, trying to pay bills. I worked for a tiling company for a while, just on and off jobs, trying to just pay the bills and make sure that I was paying everything I needed to make the company survive. And that was a really tough time for a little bit there. It was definitely took a toll on just the mental in general. And I'm sure any founder will have this similar story of the dark times and things like that. But that stuff that changes you. Like that stuff shows true hustle and true grit, the belief of keeping on going. Like if you really truly believe in what you're building and your product and service, you will still go and figure it out. I think that's super important to building something from the ground up.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's
Yeah.
really helpful to like for me and like, people who are interested in this kind of content to hear. How do you think that difficult, strenuous time affected you? Like, did it cause a shift in priorities or maybe values, even just from being so devoted and to something?
Yeah, it definitely showed that I was more capable than I thought of like figuring things out and getting things done. But it also made me really appreciate the job that I used to work at for the automotive company, like as a project manager. Like it was really nice that to have a steady paycheck, to, have an office. And it just was like, man, that was a pretty nice life back there. I don't know why I left it, but that's like these, when you believe in something so much, you're like, this is what I want. I don't care. I'll eat packs of ramen for the rest of my 5 years till I make this company what I want it to be. So yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't know. It's like that. It definitely changed me for sure
Yeah.
in the way I look at work and what and how it needs to be done.
Yeah. Like, I can kind of relate. I know I'm like very new to this whole full time thing, but already it's just been interesting looking at my life a year ago, I guess. And even though I had a more comfortable situation, recently reflecting on it, it wasn't as exhilarating and exciting as this time, and
Right.
I didn't feel as alive. That doesn't mean I'm like the happiest I've ever been, but I feel something strongly and I'm really motivated. So it's just a weird dichotomy to draw between
Yeah.
life experiences.
Feel alive. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Uh,
get all the feelings. You get the happy, the unhappy, the exhausted, the why isn't this taking off like I want it to? It's like you get all those emotions, and guess what? All those means you're alive. Like that's where it comes from. It's like, whoa, like all these feelings. I don't know why I'm feeling this
yeah.
way, but you were set in that comfortable 9 to 5 job forever and you just didn't feel anything. So it's
Mhm.
like now all of a sudden you're feeling all these different things. You're like, whoa, 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 you know?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think kept you motivated during those first 8 months before there was a clear sign or indication that this was going to like keep going?
I just like what kept me motivated was just I knew it was gonna work. I knew it would work. I knew that just deep down this has got to work. Like I'm gonna make this work one way or another. And once we got the product out there, the MVP, like people were using it, and it was pretty shitty, honestly. And people were using it, and every time we got an order, it was like, "This is working!" Like, whoa! And then all of a sudden, our phones are. We wake up and there's 20 orders, and all of a sudden we're like, "Whoa!" Like this is really working. And like then all of a sudden we're like, we're getting issues with our site and the way we built it, and like all of a sudden we're like, "Whoa!" We need to reel back and understand like what we built cannot handle what we need, and it's the speed of our site was so slow, and like there was just we were just losing customers because like it was a slow site. It wasn't. The search function wasn't great. So we had to be like, okay, we need to figure out when we're going to launch our first product, actual product, and make sure that it's 10 times faster and make sure that people can find the products they need. So that's what kept us going was just each order. Oh my gosh, another customer. Oh, people are seeing value in this. People are finding value in this pre-arrival delivery, coming into their fridge with everything they need in there. And just each order just kept us going and going. And in the beginning, it wasn't much money. We weren't making a ton of money, but we just kept going because we knew that if we could build this right and do this right, that it could provide a very valuable service for everyone that we're partnered with and with the guests. So it was people are using it,
Mm-hmm.
So
So you saw a need for what you were providing. So
yeah, yep, yep,
yeah, that would definitely keep me going as well. And yeah, I feel like a big quote I've seen is you only fail if you quit. So
yeah.
just keep going, you
Just
know?
keep going. I mean, if you want it to keep going, you'll figure out a way to keep it alive and keep it going. And whether that's working side jobs, taking a break, whether that's whatever it is that you think you need to do to make it work and keep going, that's what you do. You
Yeah,
just figure it out.
definitely. Yeah, so it's super interesting to hear about how when you were starting and the product was not great or maybe breaking when too many people were using it. And I feel like it's also really cool. You've been at it for a while now to probably look back and see how much you've grown by now and all the changes you've implemented just because you started with what you had and then you noticed something needed to be better or improved. And so you made that change. And I feel like it's just a constant process. So
Mhm.
I'm curious to know from your perspective, what are the major iterations of Stocked from beginning stages to now when it was just you guys?
Yeah.
Um, and then
So,
yeah,
yeah. So at first, it started out with me and Zach. I was literally waking up every day and working out of my room, which was in the basement of a house with three other guys. So I was
yeah,
literally just like waking up in my underwear, just grinding on the computer, building a product. And then we launched our first product, and then it was me doing the deliveries. Every delivery that came through, I was doing them. It was me and my van basically. I just paid off my truck that I bought when I was like 21. So it took 6 years, 7 years to pay off. And then I was like, man, this is nice to have a car payment. And then the business started, and I was like, well, there goes that. I'm selling the truck and getting a van. Now we have a payment. So it's like I went back to having a car payment, but I got the van because I wanted to have kind of a moving billboard where we put stocked on the side and people are aware of it, in town. And but it's like a moving billboard basically. Everyone sees it. They're like, oh, it's Brock from Stocked. It's like that's that name just kind of stuck with me. So now it's forever here. So anyway, then it was me, and then we got to a point where like I can't handle all these orders. We need to start building a small team. So we just built a small team up here in Traverse City. It's not a full-time gig, but you could make some pretty decent money doing this, pre-arrival delivery. And so we just reached out to a couple of people that we knew. My dad was doing some of them. My girlfriend's dad was doing some of them. But just people that we knew that we didn't at first we didn't hire anyone. We're just like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So we're just like calling friends, like, dude, I can't make this. Can you go grab this and this and go take it to this address? It was kind of a logistical mess. And so after that summer, the off season of winter, we were like, whew, okay, we need to get some employees that actually get some logistics behind this because we can't just be flying off the seat of our pants for these orders. So we kind of are trying to figure out what route we're going to take for hiring employees and building teams. But right now we have a team of four. So we have our driver coordinator, which he is part time right now. We hired him part time, and he coordinates all the drivers basically when orders come through, makes sure that each delivery is covered by someone. And if those drivers can't make a certain delivery, he has to go do them. And then if he can't do them, then I have to do them. So right now we're still in the very early stages of this and trying to figure things out, but It's been fun just seeing going down the line. I was like, man, I had to run every delivery, and now I'm like, I had to run a few deliveries, and then also it's like now I can focus on the business itself and let other people do the deliveries and make the money. And now we just have to figure out how to scale.
Mm, okay. Very cool to understand the evolution so far. Now that you guys have help with the delivery itself of the groceries with your team, what sort of things do you and your co founder focus on today now that your time is probably freed up?
Yeah, no, we focus on building the actual business and getting our service into more vacation rentals around the areas that we're in. And then we're also scaling our product to Sarasota, Florida in the next week. So we should be up and running in a week and a half. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Obviously, there's always things that pop up. You're like, oh, well, we're going to have to wait another couple days. So just planning on that. A week and a half ish is probably when we're going to launch the Sarasota market. We got about 10 properties that are onboarded down there that want to start pushing our service for their guests.
Okay, very cool.
And then we're working on different vacation markets that we want to go to and be in. So yeah,
Mm,
that's kind of what we're working on right now, is kind of scaling up the company and figuring out the best ways to do that.
that's very exciting. And I just remembered something that I forgot to say, which is
Mm-hmm.
when you were talking about your van with the stocked, I'm pretty sure my dad saw you at a gas station one time because I told them I was interviewing you and he was like, I've seen him around. And I was like,
Oh, really? Yeah.
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 And he asked what you were doing and we told him and everything. So, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like I remember him.
But he loves to like ask people, like,
Yeah, he was super curious, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
yeah. But okay, just wanted to mention that. Thought that was funny. Okay, Sarasota. This triggers a couple questions for me. So, one is why Sarasota?
So we actually looked at the Sarasota market, and it's 6 times the size of Traverse City market. We
How
also
do you
have
know
boots
that?
on. Yeah, what's that?
How do you measure that?
So there's some products online that you can search. I think it's called AirDNA. It tells you how many Airbnbs are in the area. You can search that kind of information on the internet and find. So you just go off of that and how many rentals are in the area. And then we wanted to see how long people were staying and things like that. And that kind of gets harder to find. But we also have a guy that lives down in the Venice area, which is close to Sarasota, that wants to help build our team out down there. So he just reached out and was like, how do I help you guys? What do I need to do to help you guys out? And we're just like, well, here's what we did up here, and let's see if we could do the same thing down there. And obviously, we can't hire you yet, but we can hopefully grow, and you can grow with us, and figure it out from there. And he was like, I'm in. So he's been a huge help to us down there in that market. He'll basically be selling to all the property managers and things like I did up here, and covering deliveries and things like that come in the beginning until we ramp up and start getting more and more deliveries and start filling out a team down there. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah,
So, vacation homes is a big part of this. So, are there high and low months for when you guys have a lot of business versus not? For example, Northern Michigan really popping off in the
yep,
summer, less
yep,
so in the winter. And
yeah.
like,
So well,
yeah.
interestingly, we've grown 30% month over month for the past this year for the new year in the off season, which is great, which is great. But yeah, so June, July, August, September have really shown to be the busiest times up here in northern Michigan. So that's why we chose Florida market to go to next, is to offset the off seasons. And then once we figure these two markets out and see how they do, expand in Florida, expand in Michigan, and then we can go anywhere from there. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, North Carolina, South Carolina, all the East Coast, West Coast, Colorado, things like that. But we're still learning a lot, and we're trying to do this the most cost effective way. So yeah, it's been fun though. It's been really fun to try to figure out how we're going to do this, how we're going to build what we built here in other places. Obviously, Northern Michigan is where I grew up, so that's my place. I have a lot of people that I have relationships with here that recommend me to other people and things like that. So that really helped out. So we'll see how these other markets go, not knowing anyone.
Yeah, that's really exciting to think about all the potential. And yeah, I would just imagine Sarasota will be your intro into what it's like to do that far away. And then you'll learn from there and then you can implement those
Exactly.
learnings and as it goes, you know?
That's right. You trip and then you learn and then you get back up. You learn some
Yeah,
more. You trip again, you learn, and then get back up and
exactly.
don't trip again.
Failure is information, you know? I like to think of it that
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
Another part I've been curious about is the partnerships with stores, especially since the stores will vary place to place now that you're expanding. And I wonder if competitors such as like DoorDash, Instacart, whatever, if you can almost differentiate yourselves from them by being more personable or more knowledgeable on the area. How does
Mhm.
that work? Or is that something that you
Well,
think
so
about?
yeah, so what differentiates us from a DoorDash or Shipt Instacart is we're the white glove service. We're like putting things away in the fridge and on the counter before these people show up. We're creating relationships with the property managers. We carry general liability in case something happens in the unit or to the unit or something wild happens from one of our employees or whatever. But we build a team that they trust, that we can go in. We carry door codes, so they don't want these Shipt, Instacart, DoorDash drivers having these codes. So building a team that these property managers trust, and that's what differentiates us. Is we're a white glove service. We put things away nicely in the fridge, nicely set on the counter so they can see their whole order, and be personal, and partner with more hyper local stores that may not even have an e-commerce site yet. They might just be a mom and pop that never got it on the internet and never needed to. Some
Yeah.
places never need to, but we like to offer that to guests as well and help give more local exposure to those businesses that people might order from instead of the big box. But we do offer the big box just because they have a lot of selection, whether it's organic or not. They oftentimes, a lot of people that shop on our website, they want to find what they want, and if they don't, they leave. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge game changer. I think, for example, if you're visiting a home and there's a small market that you always go to, but you
mhm.
can't get delivery from them, from anyone else or whatever. But maybe
Right.
like you guys offer that, that's huge. But also, that begs the question if they don't have an e commerce site or a digital way of tracking what they have in stock, how do you guys handle that with the smaller places?
So with the smaller places, we kind of handle it as, hey, what's your top 200 items that you're never going to run out of? And that's how we
Mm,
go from there. If they don't have them, then we ask the customer if they want a substitution of something else from that store. And if people don't want a substitution, we don't get it. We don't get anything. We refund them for that product and move
yeah.
on. So it's a super simple, easy way to get simpler the better. It's
Mhm.
it's it's just like, okay, it's either they have it, and if you want something different, you do. If you don't, no worries.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. And so, as I'm thinking about what you guys must have to do on the back end, that sounds like a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
So did you guys build that yourselves? Like, did you just like learn as you went?
Well, so I met our CTO Walker at the coffee shop, Happy Camper Coffee Company, and he walked in, and I was like, "Dude, what do you do? What do you do all day for work?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm a coder." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, I write code all day. I This is what I do." And he was a consultant at first, but now he writes code. And I was like, "Dude, you just walked into my life at the perfect time." And I was like, let's sit down. I want to see, I want to hear what you got. Let me see what you got going. I wanted to see everything he's done. And he impressed me, and he's been killing it ever since. And we are so happy to have him on board. He's changed our product like twofold. He's great. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Love that. Okay.
yeah,
Okay, good to know. Okay, and you brought up Happy Camper, which I also want to ask you about. So this is your coffee shop,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay,
Happy
okay.
Camper Coffee Co. Yep.
Okay, so like how did that come to fruition? When did that start and what made you want to do that?
Well, it actually came to fruition like a very dark time of
Okay.
mine. I was like in the car with my dad, and I was crying. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. He was like, dude, just, he just kind of gave me the big like dad talk, like, you got to figure it out, son. He's like, I can give you money, but that's not going to solve anything. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't want your money. I'm going to figure this out. And a few days afterwards, one of my buddies was like, dude, I want to start a business, and I want to start it with you. And I was like, all right, well, let's sit down and see what we can start, see what I can do to help you out. I was like, I'm running another company, but we'll see what we can come up with. And we just had the big whiteboard out. We were writing down things, and the coffee came to mind. And we were both from Elk Rapids, and we're like, there's really the coffee shop that we had in Elk Rapids was shut down. And we're like, well, let's see if we can build a mobile coffee hut and put it in Elk Rapids and see how it does. And so that was a very interesting time to build something with kind of no money, and again no money building it from the ground up. But luckily the guy that I did the Happy Camper Coffee Co with, he had the funds to start it, and I basically put the work in and remodeled the actual camper itself, and then we put it on the highway in Elk Rapids, and it kind of just took off from there. And people just loved it, loved the vibe, just loved the energy we were carrying, and was like,
Mhm.
we love Happy Camper. And we had one customer come back to us all the time. It was like, if you guys want a physical location downtown, I have a space for you. And I like drug my feet forever. I'm like, I don't know, like brick and mortar right now is not too sure. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, winter's coming. I can't run the camper in the winter because pipes freeze outside. You got hoses connected. It wouldn't work. And so I was like, I'll check the space out. And I walked in, and I immediately was like, I'm going to take it because it's on the river. It overlooks the White Bridge in Elk Rapids with all the basketball course. I was like, dude, this place is beautiful. We're going to do it.
Mhm.
So moved in there, and now we've been there for 2 years, and it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been
Okay.
good.
Incredible. How did you manage to start that on top of Stocked while you were going through a difficult time? And then, like, financially, how does that work with Stocked?
So it's just like, it was a lot. It was a lot. It drained me for sure. I was like, holy smokes, I'm tired. But I was like, I got to keep going. And I would work at like, J&S, the diner, for a couple nights a week. Not nights, I guess. It was more mornings. And then I would go do deliveries. And then I'd go work on the coffee shop. When I was building the actual camper, I was like working at J&S in the morning, and then doing deliveries that we had for the day. And then I was going to build the camper after all the deliveries were done. And that was like midnights, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., get home at 2:33, wake up, go bust tables, wash dishes, do whatever, do it all over again. And that was just like a really draining time. But it's like I kept going to the point where then I was like, hey, JNS, thank you so much for the opportunity to keep myself alive. Like Tiffany and Jason over there, I owe them a ton because they were like, come work when you need, come leave when you need. They were just great. They knew that I wasn't going to be there all, like, I wasn't going to be a lifetime employee, but they just knew how it felt to start something up. And they knew owning a business is hard. And so they were like, whatever you need. If you need to leave early, leave, just let us know. So they're great over there. Jason and Tiffany, they're rock stars. They do a Project Feed the Kids. I don't know if you've ever seen that around town. But every Thursday they have the community come in and pack meals for kids that need them over the weekends and stuff for families in need. So it's like they have coolers, set up at places. Anyway, you should check them out.
Oh,
It'd be
yeah,
cool to do a
definitely.
podcast on them if you ever get the chance. I can make the introduction too. I don't know if I introduced you to anyone, but this Friday is Founders First Friday.
Oh, I'm gonna
Um,
come.
so yeah, it's at Riley's Candles in Chum's Corner. So
Okay.
you come, and there's a bunch of founders there. Perfect spot for you to come get a bunch of people to do
Wow,
podcasts on, you know.
thank
So
you.
anyway, sorry. We were we yeah, so
You
where
were
was there?
talking, you were going through what your day would look like when you were doing
Oh yeah,
J&S
yeah. Yep. So yeah, then
stocks.
once I got the coffee shop built, I was working at the actual coffee shop, and I took a step away from JNS and I said, "Hey, I'm doing okay here. I'm starting to get busier. I got to start working on in my businesses now." And they're always just like, "Yeah, come on back whenever you want. We'll keep you on the payroll." Like it's funny, but yeah, after that, I started working the coffee shop, and then stock started getting busier, and then I hired my girlfriend's mom, so she works the coffee shop. She's like the manager there now, so she runs the show over there, and so I can focus on stock. But I do work a few days a week at the coffee shop, 1 to 2 days a week at the coffee shop, and then she has two other employees that she has that she can schedule for the Happy Camper. So we got a good team going over there. We got a great team going over here. I should say they're both really great. I shouldn't say good and great. They're amazing. Like everyone on the team is just for both companies is just absolutely amazing. Like they go above and beyond what I asked for, and it's great. So I really have my team to thank for everything.
Mm,
I couldn't have done it without any of these guys.
yeah.
We couldn't have done it. I don't like to use I. We couldn't have done it without any of us. We're a
Mhm.
team. Like we are one. Like that's how it goes.
That's great. It's great to be in the trenches with others, but
Yes.
I'm sure you've definitely put in the work yourself as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I definitely took the risk of quitting my job and really scaling the company quick, trying to get up to what we need. So
Yeah.
that's been definitely the biggest risk and the most draining for sure.
Yeah. I have two main questions left, but
Yep.
one that actually a follower submitted that I want to ask you before I get to those, which is to go back to something you were talking about. I forgot to ask it then, but with the codes to get into places and you're working with property managers and all that, how does like the legal, I think you mentioned something about agreements you had, but like how
Yep.
does the legal part work with that to starting it and keeping it running with like having access to these properties?
Yeah, no, it's like an agreement between both parties that we're going in and we have access codes. They know that we're going in there. We tell them every time we get an order, we let them know, hey, we're on our way. We're going to be delivering. This is who's going to be delivering. And, we go from there. So it's very open. We let them know when we're in, when we're out. And then they also provide us with our own vendor code. So, like, we don't have to use the guest code or anything like that. We have our own vendor code that they provide us.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Good to
Yep.
know. Is there any legal situation with the stores and the partnerships there?
No, we kind of go in or call or email and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Would you like to be a part of it? It's free. All you got to do is sign up and give us your logo and some products to put on there, and we'll sell your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there hasn't been anything legally
Hmm.
binding there at all. For them, it's a different customer channel.
Right.
Some people might
Yeah.
not even have came there or shopped from there or even known they were there the whole time they stay here, but they're like, oh, I can get a salmon from Burt's Market. Like, that's cool. Like,
Hmm.
I'm going to get a salmon from, the local meat fish shop. And then maybe they want their groceries from the rest of their groceries from Meyer, or maybe they see what they need at Burt's. Who knows? And we have a multi-cart function where all these local stores, you can shop all in one cart, and you don't have to worry
Oh,
about checking out multiple times. It's all in one.
that's awesome.
So
Yeah, totally. I would see how that would definitely incentivize them to be a part of this, bringing people's awareness to them, like people who are out of town. So,
right,
yeah.
yeah, and then people are out of town are like, "Oh, I don't have to actually travel to that store, but I can buy something and support them." And
Hmm.
it helps us because we're gonna have steaks tonight or something, and instead of going
Yeah,
out to eat, we're still saving money, but we're spending whatever to get delivered. So it's like they're still saving
totally.
money probably on rather than going out to eat
Yeah,
every day.
the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is so genius. And also like kind of in the same lines as the coffee shop, just since being back here, having moved back from a big city where so many things are so accessible, it's different here. Things are spread out
Yeah,
and not
yeah,
a lot of places are like available online. So any sort of product that helps bridge that gap in a popular vacation place is, yeah, huge
yeah,
potential. So that's amazing. And then like, with coffee, I've already come to know the coffee places within a short drive from me, and there's not a
yeah,
lot of options. So I'm very attentive to that. So I'm glad you brought that to Elk Rapids.
yeah.
But okay, so one of my last questions is what would you do differently if you were starting today? If you could think of anything you would tell you in 2020?
Yeah, I would probably tell myself, I don't know. Honestly, that's a question I always think about. I was like, what would I do differently? I'd probably spend my time a little differently when I first started. When I first quit my job, I took a 3 week, or I can't even remember how many weeks. I I went and golfed a lot. I was just like, oh, I got freedom. I got this cash that I've saved up. Like I can go golfing for a few weeks, but I should have just dove right in and got after it a little sooner. That's just like time management. I would probably tell myself is like, dude, you got to manage your time a little better because it was like that freedom from that time management of a regular job because you're kind of being managed by time throughout your 9 to 5 job, being told what meetings you got to be in, what you got to do. Whereas like when you're done with all that and you quit, like you could do whatever you want. But that's like
Yeah,
the dangers of it too, right? Like
yeah.
it's like, okay, you can do whatever you want. When you don't do what you need to do, you're like falling behind, falling behind, falling behind, falling behind, falling behind. So it's that like
Mm,
constant, like, okay, reminders like, okay, yes, maybe I can take a couple hours this morning and do what I want, but those couple hours this morning, that means I need to work a couple hours later in the night
yeah,
to make up for what I didn't do or whatever, or I need to hammer it out the next day and really work hard. But I would say time management and creating a schedule that works for you as an entrepreneur is super, super important. Yeah. And then it doesn't always have to be you have to stay up till 3 a.m. And grind out on your product and build. And if you're not losing sleep and drinking 1,000 milligrams of coffee, you're falling behind. That's I don't think that's first of all, it's not healthy. And second of all, that could be less conducive. That could hurt you in a huge way.
yeah,
You could get super sick and then all of a sudden you really fall behind. So I think having that schedule, making sure that you're getting the health needs that you need, sleep, food, things like that, is super important.
totally. I feel like this is what I need to hear right now.
Yeah.
One. And
Yeah.
then also, I think it is really interesting to like monitor your work style when you do finally shift to having all your time to yourself because
Yep.
it's like a trial and error thing. You're not going to know what's your best allotment of time
Yeah.
first you try. Like it takes time to be like, okay, how did I
Yep.
feel doing that at that time and spending my week like that and scheduling my day like that? It's a process, you
That
know?
brings up that brings up a really good point. If you don't work well at 8 a.m., you don't work well at 8 a.m., but you might work really well at 11 p.m. That might be your time. Your 11 p.m. to midnight slot or 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. slot might be your most productive creative time. And everyone has that different time. So don't let people think that if you're sleeping in, don't let them think that you're sleeping in. It's like, dude, I worked from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., 4 a.m. last night because that's when I'm most productive. And guess what? Yeah, I am going to sleep until 10 or 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I think it's just different. You get to work, you get to figure out that schedule, right? For me, starting off, I worked the best at night. It was by
Mhm.
far 9 p.m. till 2, 3 a.m. was my time that the world shuts down. I'm still up. Now mine's shifted. Now I like to get up earlier when the world's just waking up, but I'm up and ready and moving and going. And then
Yeah.
I like to take a little afternoon break. I'll wake up at 5, I'll wake up at 6:30, kind of get going. Sometimes it's a little later, but and then take a nice little afternoon break, and then kind of get back at it for a few hours, and then I totally shut it down unless something super important needs to be done. But it's kind of weird because I was like, at first when I started, I was like, oh, dude, like 8 to 4 p.m. Like I'm so over that shift. I started realizing like, I like the get up at 7, work at 8. So I think there's something there too. That was like maybe these jobs are right in the kind of way that a lot of people work the best in. Starting off for me, it was 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Just through college, I always procrastinated my projects. I did everything last minute, but I was always up late doing them for the last minute.
Mhm. Yeah. But then it's almost like, okay, well, look at why that is. Like maybe you're most incentivized and you work the
Right.
best at that time because you
Yes.
left it to the last minute. I think what you said about, oh, now it's shifted. I think what's also important is to not be so rigid with yourself and let it change over time. Like you're going to change as a person. Don't hold yourself to standards that you held yourself to maybe when you were that different person. And then
Right.
also think about sustainability of you being able to replicate a day's work over and over again. You were talking about at the beginning, if you're grinding so hard and intensely, and that's what you think an entrepreneur should do, if that ultimately leaves you burnt out in a couple months' time, that's not succeeding. So think about what's something
Right.
you can do if this is going to take months, years, whatever. Kind of thinking about it like that.
Yeah. And did you use the word succeed there? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I think I don't, everyone says success is like this big money object, right? Like you're only successful if you make X amount of money. I think it's you're most successful when you're like, someone uses my product, someone's out
Mm-hmm.
there really enjoying my product. And yeah, it might not be millions of people, but it's enough to provide for me and the workers that we have and the team that we have. But I think that success is measured on your own, what you think is success. Obviously money helps and having more and more money and whatever. But I think ultimately it's up to you to decide what success is for what you build, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad you shared that. I think that's really helpful to shift perspectives of aspiring entrepreneurs out there. So thank you. But my one last question, although you've already shared a lot of really helpful guidance, is a piece of advice for aspiring founders.
A piece of advice. I mean, I said this before in the other podcast, but I said start now, start as soon as you can. I think as you get older, your responsibilities get a little more, and you can't take as much risk, especially when you start having kids and you start having a family. I would say start as soon as you can. Obviously, sometimes ideas and things don't come to you until later in life, but once that idea hits, I say you should explore the options immediately. Then also, no hurry, no pause, as a quote that one of my buddies told me about. And it's, you don't need to hurry, but don't pause. Keep just work a steady workflow and keep going. As long as you just keep going and you don't actually stop working or stop what you're doing, it'll work out.
Mm, yeah.
So I kind of like that. It made me take a step back and be like, all right, like maybe I don't need to be in this huge rush, but like also don't just do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that advice. There's times now that I'm like fresh into this where I do feel like I'm in a massive rush. I'm like, I need to make something happen
Yeah.
tomorrow. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's like the best working state, if that makes sense.
I like that you brought that up because I feel like every time I try to push something to make it happen, it never really happens. And then one day I'll get a bunch of people calling and inquiries and orders and things like that. And also, I'm like, well, I didn't do anything. I was just like,
Mm.
well, this is cool. It naturally comes to you in waves. And then it's how you take those waves and take those opportunities and take those to the next level. I think there is those pushy sales, like you feel like you're pushy salesman. Like I get that, like I do. But I think, being genuine and really wanting to work with people and creating relationship with the people that you work with goes a lot farther than that, than
Yeah.
being pushy, like, oh, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. You need this, you need this, you need this. It's like, no, like, if you see value in what I'm offering you, then that's awesome. How can we work? How can we help you? Is there more that we can do for you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. Well, those are all the questions I have.
Sorry.
But thank you. I
Yeah.
just kept having questions, and like, yeah, everything you shared was so good, and I'm really grateful for
Yeah.
your
No,
time.
thanks for having me on. And I really do think that what you do helps us kind of get people to relate to us and they get to know us a little more and who we are. Some people think we're this massive company, and it's like, oh, we're just this small local delivery business that's trying to make moves and do big things. But, we're very genuine people. We grew up in Northern Michigan. We say hi, we say hello, we wave to people, we smile at people, and like, we ask people how their day is, and that's what I want to carry through this as a business. And as we go into different states, is like, how can we help you and how can we work together? I think you got to think of business as an abundance, and everyone lifts each other up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, love that so much. It's an exchange of values.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting value. Everyone involved.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.